All right, good morning, interwebs, and welcome to Saturday School. Saturday School is a weekly meeting that I actually hold via Google Hangouts, and it's put on and it's sponsored by the WordPress Meetup group that meets in the Inland Empire. We are in Southern California, and our Meetup group actually currently is spread throughout Southern California, but we primarily meet in Riverside, which is downtown Riverside, and we're going to go through all of that. So I just wanted to welcome you this morning to Saturday School, and hope you enjoy this episode. There's a few announcements that I'm going to make, and then we'll go right into the lesson. And also, these broadcasts are being archived on YouTube. I'll show you a little bit more about that in a brief moment. So once again, welcome to Saturday School. Right, here we go. Starting with announcements. We meet online and we meet in person. The Inland Empire WordPress Meetup group can be found on Twitter. If you go to twitter.com/Inland Empire WP or IEWP for Inland Empire WordPress. Currently broadcasting live from our Twitter account as well. So if you're on Twitter, go ahead and follow us. And we really love to update you every week when Saturday School is live. And I'm just going to go ahead and retweet that on my own personal timeline. So we also have a YouTube channel. Feel free to go there. All you need to do is go to youtube.com and then type in Inland Empire WordPress. Inland Empire WordPress. So that will actually take you to our YouTube channel if you search that. And just subscribe. We would love to have your feedback on these Saturday schools as they go up every week. We are going through a specific lesson and a guide, and I'll show you more about that in a little bit. But connect with us on Twitter, YouTube, and then on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page, so you can follow us here, Inland Empire WP Meetup Group. Just search for that. We have a Facebook page, but we do also have a Facebook group. I want you to check that out. This is where we meet at. These are the members of the Inland Empire WordPress Meetup group. You can see there is an image here of people in our meetup group. So you can see this is our actual in-person meetup group versus our virtual meetup group that happens every Saturday. Either one is great. Through this meetup group, resources are posted, announcements are made, plans are scheduled, and we just like to connect over the technology of WordPress. So if you are interested, please go to Facebook and search Inland Empire WordPress. If you are not already a part of the group, then you can join and be informed on a regular basis. If you are on meetup.com, you can see every one of our meetings from the past and the present and the future. This is our page on meetup.com. Go to meetup.com/Inland Empire WP. And Inland Empire WP is this place for our meetup group where you can find out everything that's going on with us. You can RSVP to a meeting. We just recently had our monthly meetup for March. It was on the 1st, and that was a Monday. So March 1st, we had our monthly meetup, and the topic was growth. And it was a great meetup, great open conversation, and very much enjoyed it. You will very much enjoy every meeting with the Inland Empire WordPress Meetup group. You won't get enough of it, I'm telling you. Once you begin to learn and connect with the community, you're gonna love it. All right. If you wanted to check out our website, go to inlandempirewp.com. This is the place where we post information and resources about meetups, and it's a general place for our meetup to. Right now, there's not a lot of activity on here, but this is a general place for people to find information about our meetup. If it's not the Facebook group, or if it's not the meetup.com website, then you can come to inlandempirewp.com and find out more about what's going on in our meetup group. And on this very same website, if you want to go to the page with regard to Saturday School, just type in inlandempirewp.com/Saturday-School. Saturday School page is a page where you can actually watch the broadcast. If I were to press play, then the live broadcast that's going on now would show up here. This is Saturday School number 17, week number 17. And with regard to where we meet at in person, when we do have our WordPress meetup group, our WordPress meetup, monthly meetup, our in-person meetup, we meet up here at 3976 Market Street in Riverside, California, at a co-working space called Riverside IO. Well, Riverside IO has been very gracious, and they've allowed us to use their facilities to come in and teach and learn and hold our meetup group, build community through this co-working space. It's been a grand experience, a great venue, great people. If you are living in Riverside and you are looking just for a place to step out, or if you work from home and you want to just go to a place that you can actually work from a public spot with 24/7 access to Wi-Fi, 24 access to the place, 24/7 access to the place. It's downtown, got a lot of restaurants nearby. Check out riverside.io. The location is actually going to be moving very soon, and they're going to be going to a bigger building, but those announcements will be made as the time comes around. So check out Riverside.io. They're a great place. WordPress.org. This website is a resource for every WordPress developer, designer, or coder. This is where you start. If you are wanting to build a WordPress website that is self-hosted, you come here to download the open source software, or maybe you're on a specific host that allows you to do a one-click WordPress install. They're getting their software from here as well. So here on the WordPress.org website, which we're going to be talking a little bit about today, here on the WordPress.org website, there are lots of resources. You can look at a showcase to see what a WordPress website has the possibility of doing. You can check out the themes, which are all free. On the WordPress.org website, all of the themes are under GPL license, and they're free. So it would be a benefit to you to check those out, and we use some of those themes during our setup and during our demos here in Saturday School. Plugins will extend the ability of WordPress, and we would talk about those more throughout this series. And then there's the support. there are the forums that you can check out on WordPress.org where people from the community are actually answering your questions. Sometimes I come in here and answer questions as well. And then there's the documentation. This place, the codex. If you go to codex.wordpress.org/main_page, this is your friend. And this is where you're going to go to begin your journey and to continue your journey. This is the place that has all of the information you need, from novice to the most advanced type of knowledge that you're going to need for WordPress. Here at WordPress.org on the Codex, this is all that you need. So check that out. And remember that WordPress, it is an open source software, so it's free to use. You can do whatever you want to with it for commercial or personal endeavors. And it's free because it's open sourced. And the code is completely accessible to anybody who wants to. Now, what really makes WordPress amazing is not the code. Well, the code is awesome. I'm not going to lie. The WordPress code is great. But the people who write the code, who are part of the community. And that's what WordCamp, this next website, is all about. If you have never been to a WordCamp in your life, I would highly encourage you to take a moment to come to wordcamp.org and go to the central.wordcamp.org website. Just read a little bit about the WordCamps and what's going on, and how we build community through WordCamps. This is a part of a community endeavor. They happen all over the United States. They happen overseas in Europe, in Africa. WordCamps are worldwide. And you may actually have one in your city. So you can check these out. Normally there are actually different tracks of learning at WordCamps. If you are interested in going to a WordCamp, there's usually like a designer track, a developer track, and then sometimes a plugin track. These are all the planned WordCamps. If you want to go check these out, this is on the WordCamp Central website. And it's just lots of WordCamps all over the world. Coming up, there are a few WordCamps coming up right now. WordCamp Dayton, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Mumbai, Atlanta, London, Finland, Jacksonville, San Diego. April 23rd and 24th, that's here in Southern California. I will be a speaker at San Diego WordCamp. So if you're down here in San Diego area, make sure you check it out. And if you want to, if you've never been to a WordCamp, want to experience a little bit of the atmosphere, come to WordPress TV. Check out WordPress TV. It is an amazing place where you can actually learn new stuff about WordPress and also just kind of see what it's like to be at a WordCamp. What are the presentations like? There's tons of different presentations, different people presenting at all times. It's a great opportunity for you to learn WordPress, connect with the WordPress community, and grow your WordPress skills. So check it out. The final announcement that I'm going to give is ServerPress. This is a great technology that is used through our Saturday school. And we may or may not jump into it on this lesson. However, if you were to go back to any of the archives, you could see that we use this technology to actually power our websites locally before we make them live on the server. So check out serverpress.com. And that's it for the announcements at this moment. And we're going to move right into our next segment of teaching for class. And actually, it's just a few more announcements. And I will pull up those slides as well. Just talk a little bit about Saturday School. All right, so welcome to Saturday School again. This is a live broadcast hosted by myself and the Inland Empire WordPress Meetup group. We thank you for being here. Okay, what is the IEWP Meetup group? We're WordPress enthusiasts in the Inland Empire. We meet once a month, first Tuesday, in person to discuss all things WordPress. We meet via live stream virtually every Saturday for Saturday School. And you can find the archives on YouTube. We meet in our online Facebook group the rest of the time. Come for help and support if you're trying to grow in your knowledge of WordPress. So it doesn't matter if you've been working with WordPress platform for a short time, not at all, or many years. We welcome you to our family. Come and learn. So why Saturday School? I created Saturday School to help fill in the gaps of learning that members of our Meetup group had, and also to help those who will find it on YouTube channel afterward. So this is being recorded every week and uploaded to YouTube directly from Hangouts on Air, and it's a great opportunity for you to learn. What do we cover in Saturday School? We cover the basics of WordPress theme setup and administration without needing to touch the code. We cover the accompanying tools and fundamental principles of understanding how to use WordPress as a content management system. We cover all of these great things in Saturday School. So welcome to Saturday School, and thank you for joining us. And that will do it for those Saturday School announcements. And finally, we are going to jump into our lesson for today. So this is actually week 17, and we've been through Saturday School several times. This is actually going to be the third time around. I've really been thinking about some of the new things that that I would implement into Saturday School. Haven't finalized the plan yet, but it's coming very soon. I plan to add new segments and into Saturday School to make it more interactive. I really want to get on top of the marketing, man, but I have a lot of things going on currently in my life and different projects. Oftentimes I'm scrambling last minute to get this stuff together to help with Saturday School. And then on top of that, I personally have been reevaluating what's going on with Saturday School, because as you can see, this morning we really don't have anyone in the broadcast. And that falls on me primarily because of the amount of marketing that I've personally put into it has not been a lot, because I've been doing other things. However, in the future, this is going to change, this is going to morph, and we're planning to make some more noise because we really want this to be a help for people. Like, I don't just want to do this just so that we can upload it to YouTube. I want to do this so that I can help people to understand WordPress fundamentals and to get them on that right path. And I want to do it in the most efficient way. I know there are lots of YouTube videos on YouTube that allow for people to learn about WordPress, but I think that what I'm doing with Saturday School is something unique, and it's something that, honestly, it's not just about creating a video. I want to create community. I'm looking to create community and connection. I want people to come to our Meetup group in Riverside. I also want people to tune into this broadcast on a weekly basis. And so this is something that is right now in the mix, and you'll see coming up. However, this week we're starting again from the top, and we're going through the WP theme setup guide. And we're just gonna begin again from the very beginning. This theme setup guide, of course, is the piece of content that I've been working on to get out there to all of the beginners who are just learning WordPress, or maybe they don't want to learn how to touch code, the theme setup guide will help you and fill the need or fill in the gap that most themes do not have some type of setup guide. Most of them don't. And so this is what's going to fill in that gap. And Saturday School is part of this as well. So without further ado, I'm going to begin to broadcast our WP theme setup guide. Okay, so here we go. WP theme setup guide. This is the guide for Saturday School. And the idea of the theme setup guide is that it's need-to-know basis instruction. It is something that, you know, I'm not trying to teach you everything, but I'm teaching you on a need-to-know basis and instructing you on exactly the things that you need to get set up and going on, you know, right off the bat. So, okay, this guide was created out of a recognized need. There are literally thousands of premium themes in the wild on the internet. More pre-made themes can be found for free in the official WordPress repository. In order for a person to learn WordPress, there are so many different resources for those who would like to begin with this process. Even with all the resources currently available, the one thing I've noticed is that most themes do not come with a setup guide. This guide is intended to cover the fundamentals of theme setup and fill in a few noticeable gaps that most people just don't get. After going through this guide, you will understand the fundamentals of setting up your own WordPress theme and know some of the necessary concepts of making a theme look like it did when you first purchased or downloaded it from your chosen marketplace. So here's just an overview, the table of contents. And this is some of the stuff that we go through for WordPress theme setup. Today, we're probably going to make it all the way through maybe point 3 under discovery. We may get a little bit further than that. I believe there's a few slides that are not mentioned on this table of contents, but we will address those things as we see them. So here's a good overview, and we'll move on. So the very first thing that I really do want to address is the common question of, you know, what's the difference between WordPress.com versus WordPress.org? What is the difference? So you have to understand this difference. There are vital differences. If you're looking to set up your own premium theme, I told you a little bit about this in the announcements, but there are some differences, and we're going to see a little bit of that in this video. So I'm going to go back to the video because this is a great video, and we're going to watch this video. Oh, I'm accidentally moving along these slides. Sorry about that. Okay, boom. We're going to play this video.
If you're thinking of creating a website with WordPress, you're likely noticing two very similarly looking options, WordPress.com and WordPress.org. You may not realize it now, but these two things are actually very different, despite both being called WordPress. And knowing the difference between them will allow you to make the right decision when setting up your new website. In this video, we're going to take a look at each of these options so that you can make the right decision for you. The most often cited difference between these two variations of WordPress is where they're located on the web. A WordPress.com site is located on WordPress.com. It's on their servers, and you'll be subject to their rules and restrictions, as well as the advertising they place on your pages. A WordPress.org site, on the other hand, is self-hosted, or hosted on your own server that you paid for through a hosting provider. It's because of this that the rules change dramatically between the two. A self-hosted site has almost no restrictions in comparison to a .com site, and it's the only way to run a BuddyPress network or a multi-site installation. First, let's take a look at the cost of running on each. A WordPress.com site is essentially free in the beginning. And as long as you don't need anything out of the default offered, it'll stay that way forever. But for free, you'll also have WordPress tagged into your domain name. If you want your own domain name, you can pay WordPress $18 a year to register and have it on your site, or pay another domain registrar less money for that domain, and then easily get it working on your .com site by still paying WordPress $13 a year. In the end, it ends up costing less to pay WordPress for both, which is sort of what they're counting on. They are running a business and providing a service after all. The costs of operating a website on WordPress.com will begin to add up, though, once you find a certain feature that they aren't willing to let you have without a yearly fee. For example, if you're running a business, you likely don't want advertisements for random stuff on your pages while potential customers are reviewing your services. This is especially true when you're not the one making money from the sale of that page's real estate. You can have advertising-free web hosting if you're willing to pay WordPress $30 a year to do so. Keep in mind, though, that selling products via e-commerce isn't possible with WordPress.com, and affiliate marketing is monitored and strictly forbidden. WordPress.com also limits the amount of space you're allowed to store your files in. By default, it's a mere 3 gigabytes. Now, for a normal blogger, that's probably not a big deal at all. But for somebody who's planning on having a site for a long time or hosting a lot of high-quality images, say a wedding photographer, for example, this space will likely add up quickly, and you'll find yourself needing more before too long. The next level up is 10 gigabytes of space, which will cost you another $20 a year. The money and space climbs quite quickly from that point on. WordPress.org sites are self-hosted and not found on WordPress.com. WordPress.org simply hosts the software itself, and you'll be able to install that on your own setup. This means that you're making all of the arrangements for hosting and mapping, and will manage all updates and installations. Most major hosting providers have people to install WordPress for you, so with those hosts, it's a snap. For those people who choose to go with hosts that don't do this, WordPress comes with a super easy installation already that practically takes care of itself after you input the needed information about your host. To really give you an idea of what all this money ends up paying for, let's examine some of the freedoms and limitations of each. The positive side of WordPress.com is that it can potentially be free forever as long as you don't desire any of the features that they limit to paying customers, such as audio and video uploads, or having your own unique domain name, or a custom site template. Also, at WordPress.com, all of the site maintenance is taken care of for you. You'll never have to think about performance issues or updating your software. WordPress.com sites are hosted by WordPress themselves, and because of that, they've got fantastic hardware that keeps your site online and super fast all the time. And they take care of security for you too, such as preventing site hacks or comment spam. WordPress.com is also a very connected multi-site network, so there are chances for other site owners on the network to visit each other and converse in the community as well. This has the potential to drive traffic to your website. On the other hand, though, WordPress.com is very restricted and has very limited flexibility. You won't be able to use any custom theme templates, do any e-commerce business, or use any plugin that isn't built into the site already. And there's not really all that much there. Also, WordPress.com sites will have advertisements placed on their pages for other visitors, unless you pay that $30 a year to have them removed. Also, you will never get FTP access to your files. Unless you're getting a ton of traffic and can afford to pay the thousands per month for their VIP hosting program, you'll never be able to gain full control of your website at WordPress.com. On the other side of the spectrum, WordPress.org is, in many ways, a completely different animal altogether. While it's still a WordPress-powered site, this experience offers a free and open source experience that over 62 million sites around the world are driven by. If you're using a self-hosted option for your site, you have control over everything regarding your site. You can upload custom theme templates, third-party plugins, monetize your site with advertising space, conduct business transactions, and more. There is really no limit to what you'll be able to accomplish with the right knowledge and tools because you are no longer under WordPress.com's rules and regulations. You are your own boss online. However, such freedom and ability may come at a price, and it's up to you as to whether or not you can handle the responsibility of working with your own self-hosted website. For starters, you'll almost certainly have costs involved with a self-hosted site, because you're going to need to buy a domain name and have a hosting plan someplace that can reliably serve your site to visitors. If you expanded your site all the way, the yearly fees at WordPress.com usually end up being cheaper than paying monthly to host it elsewhere, but not always. Figure out your needs and shop around for a situation that gives you what you need at the right price. Also, because you won't have the WordPress.com team managing anything for you, you'll be responsible for all forms of maintenance and security on your site, so you'll have more time into monitoring activity. Because of this, running a self-hosted site will naturally be a more complex undertaking, although it doesn't necessarily have to be an overwhelmingly difficult thing, as long as you act reasonably within your abilities as a website administrator. Finally, should anything go wrong, such as a broken page or a problem with your design elements, you're effectively on your own, aside from online forums and other communities that help one another out. Ultimately, to make the right decision on which one to use, you'll need to assess what your needs are. Everything about this choice depends on what type of site you need and the features required to meet those goals. If you're looking to sell anything with any type of checkout system, you cannot use WordPress.com and must use a self-hosted WordPress.org site. If you need a custom look to your site or believe the ability to expand and grow later is important, you'll also need to go with a self-hosted option. But if cost is everything to you, and you only require a simple place that's managed for you on the web without minding the restrictions or ads, WordPress.com is the perfect fit. I hope that clears up a few things and helps you make the right decision for your website needs. For more information and tips on everything WordPress, visit us online at WPMU.org.
Okay, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Very well put together presentation by WPMU. They are actually a great provider of plugins and different support services. I personally use them, and so I would recommend that you use them as well. And so it really is a great video there. That's why I included it in the presentation. The difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. Hopefully you understand now. From that, we jump into discovery. There's a vast universe of WordPress themes, but you only need one. So really, this is all about setting up the theme that you purchase, the theme that you desire to use, whether it's purchased or only downloaded from a free repository. This entire presentation, this entire guide is all about helping you set that up. What are some of the necessary and helpful tools? Desktop server. I put that there because that is what I use 100% of the time when setting up a local WordPress website. So because setting up a local WordPress website is actually the safest route to go. Desktop server is going to be your best bet. So check out desktop server. It's a website that we looked at earlier, ServerPress, and I may show that to you again in a little bit. The other thing you're going to need is a web browser. Most everyone has a web browser. I use Google Chrome, and I like Google Chrome because it's very fast, has a lot of different development tools that I can use, and it just makes sense for me. An FTP application. Now, going through this course, I actually have found personally that you don't really need an FTP application. It's helpful. It's not necessary. Web hosting. Web hosting, it is not absolutely necessary for building and setting up your theme, but once you have set up your entire theme with a locally installed version of WordPress through desktop server, you're going to probably want to make your website live, and it's absolutely necessary for you to have a web hosting plan through desktop I'm sorry, not the desktop server, but it's absolutely necessary for you to have a web hosting plan in order for you to make your website that you built on your desktop live. Okay, so it's absolutely necessary for that. Photoshop. Okay, I can tell you that throughout this series, I have not used Photoshop once, but it's a helpful tool because once you get your website up, if you want to modify graphics, and even while you're building it, if you want to modify graphics and things like that, Photoshop will be very helpful for you. Any part of the creative suite, out of all parts of the Adobe Creative Suite, Photoshop is going to be the most helpful for you. All right, so from there, we're just going to talk a little bit about choosing a WordPress theme. So as you go and you begin to make your selection of a WordPress theme, if you haven't chosen a theme yet, you want to do that. So choosing a theme is the first step in the process. Careful attention to proper details will get you off to the right start. One thing for you to keep in mind is that good marketing of a theme does not necessarily necessitate a quality theme. Test drive several themes in order to vet their quality and ability to fulfill your business goals, while holding them up to the below stated guidelines will ensure that you get a theme that will bring profit to your business. So in order to vet a theme, a couple of ways that I go about vetting a theme is, number one, I will look at the amount of downloads. If it's on WordPress.org, I can look at the downloads in the ratings and the reviews on the actual website, WordPress.org. If it's not on WordPress.org, then I'm going to look for theme support. So whether that be pre and post sale. So like what kind of support do they give me before I even buy the theme? Can I send them an email or a text message? I'm sorry, not a text message, but an email or a message from their website and find out a little bit more about the theme if I have questions. Is there good documentation? All of these things would actually be part of theme support. Do they have message forms for them? After the sale, what do they guarantee? Is it a 6-month, 6-week, whatever type of warranty? I need to think about these types of things as I'm picking out a theme. Technical simplicity, no bloat / theme check. So here, there are a couple of options, but this really would actually be after you purchase a theme or download a theme. That's why I recommend checking out themes from the theme repository, because most of the time they will have a free theme that you can download and then upgrade to their premium version later. So you can't tell if a theme is bloated if you're not able to install it on your website. And if you have to buy a theme before you can even try a theme, that's going to be pretty tough. Theme Check is a plugin that you can use with your theme in order to test it and see how up to date it is, if there's malware inside of the theme or anything like that. Responsive web layout. Does the theme include a responsive design? That should be pretty much default for everything nowadays. And then WordPress community reputation. Some themes have a really bad reputation in the WordPress community. You want to avoid those themes at all costs. You may find a theme that's pretty, when I say WordPress community, I'm talking about in the forums on Facebook, there are groups that you can check out on Facebook, which involve a lot of people who are on a regular basis actually involved in the WordPress community. They're just part of the community. These people are the community. And you can ask around and find out from some people, what do you think about this theme? You guys think this is a good theme? And a lot of times you'll get some good answers. So marketplaces are another place you're going to get themes. So here's a list of marketplaces. short list of marketplaces that you can check out. Theme Forest, which is probably like the 800-pound gorilla. Woo Themes, Mojo Themes, which is another big one. Studio Press, very well known and has a good reputation in the WordPress community. Elegant Themes, Flexi Themes, Press 75, Theme Shift, Graph Paper Press, and I won't read through all of these, but you can tell this is a short list of WordPress theme marketplaces. You can go check out their themes. This is actually in no particular order, so don't think that one is more important than the other. Although, as I mentioned, there are some that have better reputations in the WordPress community. The .org theme directory. Okay, so this is the other one, and we'll walk through a little bit of the .org theme directory. WordPress.org has a free theme directory that contains thousands of themes. If you keep in mind the previously mentioned theme vetting guidelines, you can actually find some pretty great options for themes in the free theme directory. As stated previously, you can test drive the themes you like from the theme directory to find the ones you like. And the great part about these themes is that they are free. So what I'll do is I'll share my entire screen because I want you to actually what I'll do is I'll open a new tab so that you can check out the theme directory. And right now I know I'm broadcasting not my screen, so I'm going to have to be aware of that as well so that you can actually see when I get ready to broadcast. All right. Okay, so it loads. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to share. All right, here's the entire screen. I'm going to have to minimize that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, like, here's some of the things you can pay attention to in the .org theme showcase. The thumbnail. I mean, that is the most evident thing, probably the easiest thing for you to look at. Just look at the thumbnail. First off, do you like the overall look of the actual thing that you're looking for? Some of these look more plain, they're more basic, which means that you could probably modify them. Some of them have their own images. They look, of course, remember, regardless of the images that are on the theme, the layout is what determines the theme. The actual layout, does it have 3 columns like this Vantage theme? A major large banner on the front screen? Is it like a full page theme? Just look at the thumbnail and find the one you like. So looking at the thumbnail, I see a couple of these that are very appealing. However, as I investigate further, a lot of times I will eliminate ones that I like, ones that I don't. So I can investigate further to the ratings. So if I look at these, we're under the popular themes. So obviously some of these are going to have good ratings. So I'm going to click on this one where it says more info. And I can look at the ratings. 5 out of 5 stars. 3 people rated it at 5 out of 5 stars. Here on WordPress.org, these ratings are like Amazon ratings, so you can actually go and read the feedback. I can click on this number, and it takes me to the area where I can read feedback. And people are commenting, beautiful design, good luck to you, everything you need for a good-looking site. Westing, they have 3 people. Some people give more substantial types of reviews, which are very helpful. So this is what you need to look for. Is first of all, look at the rating, look at the reviews, included features, which would tell me whether or not this theme is lean or bloated, and I can look at, okay, there's 3,000 plus active installs. It was last updated January 19th of this year, 2016. And this information is important because if it's been updated recently, then I will know that this theme author is keeping this theme fresh. They're doing new things with it. There's a lot of installs and it tells me it's popular. So here's some of the theme features. I can look under here. West is a responsive business theme. Okay, there's that word responsive. That means that out of the box, it's going to be a responsive theme. Okay, cool. That's what we're looking for. That aims to provide everything you need in order to help create an awesome website for your company. That word everything gives me a little hesitancy because sometimes that can mean it's got a lot of theme bloat inside of it. It's bloated. It has features in the theme that aren't necessary. It says some features you will find in West are live composer integration. Okay, so if you're not familiar with live composer is like a page builder. And that can mean that, okay, I can tell you first, just off the back, your website can get bloated with any page builder. So it says fonts and colors, controls, blog options, custom header option, and more. He really doesn't say a lot. The tags he put on here are custom background, custom colors, custom header, custom menu, featured image, fluid layout, light, responsive layout, right, sidebar, sticky post, theme options, threaded comments, translation ready, 2 columns. So these are the way this theme is filtered. Really, the only way that I would know if this theme is truly bloated is if I were to go to this or build a website and actually install this, and after install, look to see if there are lots of different content types that are built into the theme, and we can go over that later. But as far as looking at the actual theme and vetting it, this is as far as I can go right now until I actually put up a test website. So the next thing I want to see is full demo links, if present. So this one, usually I can click on either preview. If I click on preview, most of the time here on WordPress.org, you don't get a very good preview. You just kind of get a stylistic overview of what the theme offers. But if you want a full preview, sometimes they add a link. This one says theme homepage. So I'm going to go to the theme homepage. I'm opening it in a new tab, and it's on allthemes.com, and the theme is West. So I can go to this theme homepage, and I see download and I see demo. So this may actually be the full theme. If I click on demo, it opens up a new tab, and as it loads, I see that this is actually a full demo. And here I can do a bit more testing with the theme because I have a URL, a complete URL right here. I can do more testing. I can choose, it gives me different views. This is a desktop view. Here's a tablet, a sideways view. If I click on this, this is a tablet vertical view. It's looking pretty nice. Pretty straightforward and simple. This is a mobile landscape view. If I were to go to mobile, wow, nice. Look at that, responsive. And then a mobile vertical view. Now, every theme does not have this. So it is also, something that you would want to look for, because everyone would more than likely not have this theme. So anyway, this gives me a good overview. It's a free download. The theme looks fairly nice. It is a responsive theme, so it's passed a lot of our tests. And that's a good way to begin to test these themes. So next thing, we're going to move on from themes for now, talk a little bit about necessities. In order to make your theme live, after you have built your theme, you're going to need domains, hosting, and email, okay? Having your own domain name and web hosting keeps you in control of your web properties. A self-hosted WordPress website requires this. If you are just starting, then a shared hosting plan will work perfectly. For increased stability, never host your email at the same place as your website. So my recommendation, my tech recommendation, as I'm flying through these slides. Okay, here we go. My tech recommendation is to dissociate or separate your web services, your domain separate from your hosting, and if possible, your email separate from your hosting and domains. This is the way I do it personally. It's not an absolute necessity, but I think it's a very best practice. And that way, if one service goes down, it doesn't take down all of the other services. Use WordPress-friendly hosting. That's the second thing that I would recommend. There are lots of different WordPress hosts out there, and I'll go through a list of hosts which let you know, some web servers are more highly optimized for WordPress websites. I do this personally to my own server, and you can check that out. Reach out to the WordPress community. It's the third tech recommendation. Facebook groups is one way. You can reach out through the .org forums is another way. And you can go to your local Meetup group, which is probably the best, one of the best ways, because you meet people in person. Here's a list of domains, hosting, and email. And not listed in any particular order, but just to name a few. The domain providers, the hosting providers, and the email providers, this is a good way for you to separate your services. If you buy GoDaddy domain names, don't use GoDaddy hosting. Use some other, I would just say personally, don't use GoDaddy hosting. They're getting a little bit better. But once you do that, also email providers. There's Hover, who provides email, Rackspace, Amazon. I use Google personally, but these are all just different ways to have different services for your website whenever you go live, in a way that you don't have to keep all these services together, and it's a lot safer. All right. So we have made it through all three of the beginning presentation points, and it's 9:55. We are at initial setup, so we'll just keep going because we got probably maybe about 15 more minutes on this, and I hope you guys are doing good. I'm just going to stop sharing the screen for a moment, and I just want to talk a little bit about those last things that we just mentioned. So your domains, your hosting, and your email, those are important services to keep your business running. Your domain name, never let anyone own your domain name outside of yourself, because owning your domain name is owning your business online. So never allow for your domain name, for your business, or for yourself to be registered under anybody's name. If you do, then that person has full control of your brand on the internet. Some companies register domain names for their customers, but I don't recommend it. Hosting, again, I said, make sure you're looking for WordPress optimized hosting. There are different providers out there, and they're great. But if you don't have an optimized host for your WordPress website, then you're not getting the full performance out of your WordPress website. So hosting is important, and usually a fast website starts with a very solid base of good hosting. So don't skimp out on the hosting. That's one thing you don't want to do. You want your website to be fast. You want your website to be reliable. You don't want it to crash. You don't want to lose customers. Get a good host. And the third thing, your email. If at all possible, separate that. As I mentioned earlier, separate it from your hosting. Some people they buy hosting and they use their email with their host. I don't recommend that, because if your host goes down, if your website goes down, then your email accounts will be down as well. So separate that. Google for Work is $5, per user. Rackspace has a great deal. I believe Hover, you can buy email hosting with them. So you have separate services. Most reliable in my eyes has been Google, but that's just my choice. So that's for those previous 3 points. I just want to cover those. And now we're going to talk about initial setup. Okay, so knowing the proper screws to adjust is half the battle. So we're just going to begin with this. I don't know how far we're going to get into this, but we're going to start. So the first thing about initial setup. So after you purchase your domain name and hosting plan, you will need to set up and install the WordPress software on your host. Most web hosts offer a one-click installer. Whatever variation the installer is, this is the quickest way for you to install the WordPress software on a remote live server when you are ready for making the website live to the world. So there's a one-click install that you can do on your website, usually through your host. And this will enable you to not have to do a lot of work, but it really does give you a good feel for, it takes away the difficulty from the process of setting up a WordPress website. So my recommendation is for you to create a local installation of your WordPress software, of the WordPress software via desktop server, and learn on a local install. So you want to test first by using a desktop version, not a live server version. Don't learn on your server. You can, but it's probably not the best thing to do. But desktop server offers the ability for you to transfer your website to a live server through the premium version of their software once you've completed your test version. Local versus remote. Local hosting is when you have a server running on your computer and you build your website on your computer. Remote hosting is when your website is located on another server. It is a web development best practice to create your website on a locally hosted server and not on your remote server where the world will publicly see it. The term that is used of the practice where you develop live on your server is cowboy coding. All cowboy coders are banished to eternal web developer anathema. Just joking. However, if you cowboy code, you run the risk of losing your work. Know that you expose your work to liability often helps. The benefits of having a locally hosted environment include you always have a backup of your website. You can test before you go public, and you do not need an internet connection. So here is a brief diagram. Shows a little bit of the difference of local versus remote hosting. The comparison, just something that will help you to keep in mind. You expose yourself to liability when you don't develop locally. So with local development, you have access to your website offline. So that means you don't need the internet. Sorry, we're moving way too fast here. Here we go. So you do not need access to the internet for a local developed website. You always have a website backup. So you'll have that backup on whatever computer you're developing that website on, which is a huge benefit. You can take your development anywhere, especially if it's on a laptop. You can take your laptop anywhere. You can run PHP and MySQL. On a locally developed website, you run PHP and MySQL. You have full control, and you can safely upgrade your website plugins without breaking the website on a live server. So with Desktop Server, the added benefits you get is that you can readily spin up WordPress websites. So you can create a quick WordPress website with Desktop Server. You can create website blueprints, which is another awesome thing to help you have a jump start on your web development. You can run WordPress multi-site, and if you've never run a WordPress multi-site website, then maybe I would recommend that you start running one from your desktop before you do one live. And then there's one-click deploy. With the premium version of Desktop Server, you can build a website, and then you can use the one-click deploy by installing a plugin on the remote server and deploying from your desktop. Very, very helpful tool, and I use it all of the time. So here's remote development. This is what you can do with remote development. Or some of the, these are the cons. You need an internet connection. So if you're not connected to the internet, if you're developing on a remote server, then you can't develop on a remote server because you have no internet connection. You risk losing data. Sometimes, and I know this is hard to believe, but sometimes mid-save, you will lose files. I have done that. I'm saving, and I was developing on a remote server. I was writing code, but in the middle of a save, somewhere in the save, I was saving it to the remote server, that code got lost. And so I don't recommend you doing this. You risk losing code changes, just talked about that. You must set up backups. Like if you don't have a personal backup of your website on your server, then you're gonna have to call your web host, and they will more than likely charge you for that backup. You have limited control. Again, especially if you are with, if you don't own a VPS or above on your server level, if you are just with a shared host, which is probably about 80% of people who are hosting, they're using shared hosts, then you have limited control. You can't control that server. You don't have that complete power. And then you have upgrade liabilities. So if you're upgrading plugins live on your remote server, then the liability is that one plugin can take down your entire install of your website. And that is not good, especially if it's live and you have customers coming and you have people wanting to check out your business, and important information is there. You don't want to take down your entire website and have to troubleshoot. Which plugin was it that just took down my entire website? That is a bad, bad, bad experience. All right, so theme installation is next. We will stop sharing our screen right there because it is 10:06 and the time has absolutely flown by. And it's been an absolute pleasure to absolutely show you more about WordPress. And we hold this class every week, every Saturday at the same time, 9 a.m. And normally we go till 10:15, 10:30. Right now it's 10:06, and I believe we've covered enough for this session. Feel free to join us next week. I will push out the announcements next week. This week I didn't get to push out the announcement, but I will push out the announcements for next week. And hopefully you will be a part of the class. Thank you so much for joining me on this archive, if you are the one in this archive. And I appreciate any of your feedback feel free to contact me at our website, inlandempirewp.com. Just go to the contact page, send us a note if you got questions. If you want to add feedback, then feel free to join us there, or any of the various venues that we talked about in the announcements as well, whether it be the Facebook page, the Twitter page, any of those things. Follow us, join us, and I will see you next week.